Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. If you're not, it's a great conversation there about the NBA all day, every day. Now, let's talk about the long-awaited breakdown I've been promising for some time about the unibrow, Anthony Davis. Went through a lot of footage. It was pretty exciting to see what he can do. The team offense might not have been so exciting for the Pelicans, but Anthony Davis is extremely impressive. And one thing that jumped out at me was that in no fewer than 7 offensive categories, he utilizes those at least 10% of the time, making him the most varied offensive player in the top 25 of scorers. Very difficult to guard someone when you don't know exactly where he's going to attack from. Let's start out by looking at some of the overall numbers. Synergy rates Davis 93rd percentile overall, and of the 53 players who have used a minimum of 1,000 possessions, the unibrow is ranked 6th. His rebounding numbers are also impressive, and his rebounding rate of 34% is very good in comparison to Dwight Howard's rebounding rate is 38%. Defensively, he's been the lone bright spot in the Pelicans' 27th ranked defense, blocking a league-leading 2.9 blocks per game and getting almost 1.5 steals. The unibrow's most used offensive category is as the roll man in the pick and roll, and he's among the elite players in the NBA in rolling to the hoop. With a minimum of 150 rolls, he's 5th in the league out of 23 players and does a great job of turning these possessions into points without turning it over often. The Pelicans' offense isn't tightly structured, and they'll just as soon come down and screen and roll right away as anything else. Davis is unique in that he's good at popping for the 15-footer, as well as getting into the paint for a strong finish. He also has good body control and soft shooting touch around the rim. It's great to see such a young player utilize the post-up as much as he does, but he is far from a finished product yet. He's better on the left block, but needs to diversify a little bit to make him more difficult to guard. As it is, posting up 72% of the time on one side of the floor makes you a bit limited. One problem he has is that he tends to shy away from contact rather than go up strong and initiate to get space. He is far more comfortable facing up and using his quickness to attack from the 15-foot area. However, until he can gain more strength in both his upper body and lower body, he won't be able to absorb the typical NBA contact to finish through his moves, and he also tends to take much too long after the catch to break into his attack. Davis does quite a bit of damage getting putbacks, and out of the 25 players with a minimum of 100 offensive rebounds, he currently ranks 3rd overall behind only Derek Favors and Blake Griffin. He certainly has the Moses Malone aspect to his game, slamming in his own misses, but he's also very dangerous in transition since the Pelicans as a team are very average in making transition shots. He also takes advantage of his position as a high post player by blowing by his man to get to the rim so his freakishly long arms can capture wayward shots and redirect them through the hole. He's got that knack for being around the ball and displays very nice touch for such a young big man. Anthony Davis transcends his position by spotting up as much as he does. However, he has struggled mightily to be effective. Even if you isolate forward centers, he ranks last among players with a minimum 100 spot-ups, behind his own teammate Jason Smith. He definitely favors catch and shoot, but opponents also know that if he drives, it's going to be left. Of his 328 shots from beyond 10 feet, 206 of them are taken in the 15 to 19 foot range. As he improves, he'd be wise to extend this out farther, even if it means shooting more of the dreaded mid-range shots. One thing I like is that he utilizes the hop quite often on his outside jumpers, and you can also see a nice turn and dip, but not quite enough sway for my taste. He's got decent footwork from the perimeter, and here's an example of his one dribble pull-up to his left. You can see he's best at the top of the circle area straight onto the hoop, which is a good thing since it's the most difficult spot for his man to defend him. And having watched a number of his jumpers, it's clear to me he's best utilizing the hop. Where he can really be most dangerous is in a Kevin Durant sort of way when he breaks his man down off a dribble and his 7'6" wingspan enables him to get shots over his man. The Pelicans are starting to give Davis the opportunities to take over games by isolating his man and taking advantage of mismatches. If they put a big on him, he can blow by, and if they put a small forward on him, he can post them up. He's slowly gaining the confidence to take over, and when he does get that confidence, look out. Again, without enough strength, he suffers from the typical uncalled contact players receive when going to the hole. And other times, he's more willing to go sideways to attack rather than get into his man and create separation with his body. But he's already ahead of the game with his creative shot-making ability, and very few big men can shoot a shot like this so softly. On Sunday, he gave us a glimpse of the future by isolating for what should have been the game winner. In transition, he is simply a monster, as no one near his size can possibly keep up with him when he sprints the floor. The only thing I criticize is the amount of transition he's getting. I'd like to see it get up closer to Blake Griffin transition numbers at 14% of the time. And it's not like he cherry picks. If he starts out even with his man, he'll win that rim run every time and finish at full speed. He lacks the strength to really box out the rugged rebounders in the NBA, but he balances that out by beating those bruisers back down the court. While defensive stats can be misleading at times, there's no denying he's having a positive impact. Aside from leading the league in blocks per game, among big men, he's fourth in the league in opponent shooting percentage at the rim. However, he is 24th out of 27 players with minimum 800 defensive possessions for fouling on the shot and creating free throws for his opponents. As a young shot blocker, he is still susceptible to the veteran tricks and shot fakes that lead to those kind of fouls. But he is extremely active, can switch out onto smaller players, and still get back to his man to contest shots. And he has certainly mastered the art of coming over from the weak side to soar up and just erase shots as well as anybody in the league.
So there you have it, sports fans. A very impressive young player on his way. I'm not so sure he's learned how to run as explosively as he can. He kind of glides around out there, and if he can learn that extra gear, that will help him get to that next level. The one player that he seems to stand out that is the best comparison to me is KG. He's almost a clone of Kevin Garnett, and if he can stay healthy and play 12 years and amass those kind of numbers, then you're going to have a serious discussion about him and his career and the way he fits into the pantheon of great players in the NBA when he's all through. Well, thanks for joining us. Lots more coming up, and don't forget at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?